let me go ahead and pull this up and we can go ahead and get started here. So just a little bit about what we're going to be doing within this presentation. We're kind of going to just briefly cover a little bit about CPaGE, how it's kind of like different from the stateside courses and how it relates to financial aid, as well as certain CPaGE programs that are financial aid eligible. So you may already know if your program is FA eligible, or you may have questions about that. We can of course get to that as we come across those individual questions, but we'll just go over which ones are getting federal aid and state aid, and then a little bit about what that means. And then financial aid options, so what options you have in regards to the program that you're in. And then along with a little bit about how accepting loans work, and then what that process looks like, and how disbursements function and how that affects your account. And then at the end, we'll do a little bit of a Q&A. So CPaGE at SFSU is essentially a way for you to take certain courses that can prepare you for career advancement. And there's also degrees that are offered through CPaGE as well. It is a little bit different in the way that stateside courses are offered, just in terms of how you pay and then the degree completion, and then of course, as well as the financial aid that's offered. So we're going to get a little bit more into that specifically here. On the website, on the College of Professional and Global Education website, at the top where it says register, you can go down to see view financial or the view financial aid, and that is going to show you the programs that are eligible for financial aid here. So there are different certificates, credentials, and degrees that are all eligible for aid. So if a program here is eligible, that means that they're going to be federally eligible no matter what, which means if you're Pell eligible, so in the event that you do not already have an undergraduate degree, and your SAI, which is a number that's determined by FAFSA, if that is Pell eligible, then you have the chance to receive Pell. And it also means that you would be eligible to receive direct loans for these courses. So some courses are also state aid eligible. So over on the right here, there's a bit of a checklist that will say if it has California aid eligibility. So the deadline for the FAFSA is always going to be March 2nd. That deadline is technically the state deadline. So if you complete your FAFSA before March 2nd of every respective year, then you may be eligible to receive state aid essentially for your program. So you can see over on the left, they're all the ones that are financial aid eligible, are federal aid eligible. And then on the right, there are specific programs that are California aid eligible. And I'll explain a little bit about some of those awards here. So one state aid award is the Cal Grant. This award essentially is tuition based. So that means it cannot be refunded to you. So if you receive the Cal Grant, it's going to go directly towards your tuition. And it is technically prorated based on the amount of units that you're taking. So if you're half time, you will be receiving 50% of that Cal Grant, and then the full-time award will fully be covering your tuition. So depending on how many courses you might need for your degree or your program, it is usually optimal to be taking like a full course load. So if you're a graduate student, half-time is technically 4 units. If you're an undergraduate, half-time is technically 6 units. So full-time would be 8 for graduate students, and then for undergraduate students, it would be 12 units. So you may not always be able to take 12 units, but your aid will be prorated to match that. And it will actually be the same with the Pell Grant as well. So proration works with most awards in that way. And there are a few programs that are middle class scholarship eligible, which is another California state award. So Kate, correct me if I'm wrong here, but currently what I'm seeing for the programs that are middle class scholarship eligible, I see it's the Nursing Bachelor's of Science and the Business Administration degree, the Criminal Justice Studies BA, and then the Online Psychology BA as well. So as far as I know, those programs do have the potential to receive middle class scholarship.
Yes, that's
And
accurate. Thank you, Joey.
that is okay, perfect, perfect. So middle class scholarship can be a little bit tricky because basically the way that it works is it's meant to kind of bridge the gap for your funding in a way that's different from other awards. So it will actually change depending on your overall financial aid package. So if you get awarded the middle class scholarship at the beginning of the semester, later down the line, if you receive a scholarship, your middle class scholarship will actually adjust to a new value because you received a scholarship before. So that is important to keep in mind. If you do see the middle class scholarship, it doesn't hurt to, reach out to us and say, hey, is this, what I'm going to receive? Is there anything I can do here to, make sure that this doesn't go down or go away or whatever. And we'll kind of always keep an eye on it for you. But also, the first thing we'll do is direct you to California Student Aid Commission's website. So that link that we have there, Web Grants for Students, is a very valuable resource for kind of identifying your state aid and making sure that those values are what you're seeing on our end as well. Because the last thing you want to do is realize that like you have aid that's pending because there was some sort of issue with either Cal Grant or middle class scholarship, and you could have resolved it by going into Web Grants for Students, but it's a little bit late, so now it's going to take a little bit longer. So we always recommend just making sure your state aid is squared away if you are eligible, because you never know when the middle class scholarship might show up. You may think that you're not eligible for it because your SAI is too high, and then lo and behold, you actually do have it. You just have to make sure your like school is there or your GPA submitted or something like that. So highly recommend visiting Web Grants for Students. And now a little bit about loans. So for undergraduates, you do have the opportunity in most cases to receive the subsidized loan. That is, if you are determined eligible for it, which for all of these, by the way, you are going to need to make sure that you do a FAFSA. So for these direct loans, if you do want to have access to them, the Department of Education has to determine your need-based eligibility. And so that comes from essentially the finances that you are submitting from 2 years prior. So if you are found eligible for some of these loan offers, the subsidized loan is kind of nice because the interest is actually subsidized while you're in school. So if you take out that loan for, let's say you take out a subsidized loan for 5,500, that principal balance will stay at 5,500. It's not going to accrue interest. So it is a convenient loan to take out if you do end up needing a bit more funding. And then additionally, there's also the unsubsidized loan. So the unsubsidized loan is one that will be accruing interest while you're in school, but you, like all student loans, are not necessarily obligated to make payments towards the principal balance. So you can defer making payments on any loans that you're taking out in school until 6 months after you graduate. But the difference between the subsidized loan and the unsubsidized loan is that the subsidized loan won't accrue interest while you're in school. So we always recommend, thinking it through and then just, planning out your expenses and saying, okay, what am I going to owe past this point? And these are conversations that you can also have with your servicer as well, just to make sure that you're setting up payments, because some students do make payments while they're in school. But if you do see the subsidized loan and unsubsidized loan offered to you, that would just be the difference for them. And for graduate students, there is a direct loan that's offered to you, but it is only an unsubsidized loan. So graduate students do not have access to the subsidized loan. So that is just one thing to remember. If you're planning on doing graduate studies, you would have to take out an unsubsidized loan. So, like I had said previously, that subsidized loan does require financial need, which is determined by FAFSA. So, all of those loans are going to require an application to be completed just to make sure that you would be eligible for it because it is a need-based award. Um, you also have to be enrolled in at least 6 units. So, if you're an undergraduate student, you have to be in at least 6 units, which is half time. If you're a graduate student, you have to be in 4 units, which is half time for graduate students. So as long as you're half time in your respective program, you can be eligible for a loan disbursement. And then there are annual aggregate limits, so you technically can't take out more than the aggregate for the year. So if you've exhausted all of your direct loan options, or you just don't have any, you can't submit a FAFSA for whatever reason, private loans are also an option. So this is referred to as the alternative loan program, which we do have more information on our website about like trusted servicers that we tend to recommend students towards. But if you are not able to take out, a subsidized loan or the direct unsubsidized loan or anything like that, then private loans are also an option. And if you do plan on taking out those loans, you can go into your student center and you'll see a big button that says accept or decline awards, and you'll need to make sure that you just hit accept. So you'll want to do accept, and then you can put in the specific value that you want to receive. Um, it is important to note that this package here is for the entire year. So whatever you accept here will be divided by two essentially, and you'll receive one half in the fall and then another half in spring. So whatever you accept, just remember you're only going to be receiving half of it. So if you wanted to have your tuition covered, but it's fall, you don't want to take out $4,000 in loans. You would need to take out twice that if you planned on having it completely covered. And then it would be the same for the next semester as well. So essentially, when we say disbursement, we're referring to the payment of your financial aid towards your charges. So when we say your aid has dispersed, what we're essentially saying is that your financial aid has gone out. It has been dispersed to you or towards the balance. So when aid goes out, it's always going to go towards the balance on your account first. So if you owe tuition to the school, or if you owe housing, or if you have any kind of charge on your account, your financial aid will be dispersed directly to that charge if it's within the respective aid year. So if there is no balance for like on your account and you have aid going out for spring, let's say you get your middle class scholarship, but you already paid your tuition, that money will be refunded to you. So if you don't have direct deposit set up, by default, it will be sent. It'll be sent as a check to the address on your account. Otherwise, you can set up direct deposit and then receive your money that way. Um, but if you have housing or any kind of other fee on your account, it'll always just go there directly. And that's every Wednesday is the disbursement date. So if you accept a loan on, Thursday and you do all your checklist items and everything like that, you'll probably see it the next Wednesday, assuming there's no issues with it. Because you'll definitely want to make sure to check your to-do list to see if there's anything you need to do. But if everything's good to go, you can usually expect every Wednesday to be disbursement. So if you were expecting aid and like a week has gone by and you notice it's like Thursday and it should have gone out the day before, you can reach out to us and we'll be able to determine if there's an issue or anything like that. But just keep that in mind every Wednesday. And then also for Parent Plus loan, it is important to note that it'll technically be sent to the parent's mailing address. So Parent Plus loans, when they're dispersed, they'll be going like based off of all of the parents' information. So a little bit different than the direct loans, just because it's taken out in the parent's name. So that is kind of something just to keep in mind. And then, like I had said, those loans are always split between fall and spring. So there are some cases where, if you attended in fall, but you didn't take out loans, and then you're in your spring semester and you decided you do want to take out loans, you could receive your annual loan limit. So you could receive the full amount that term, but that's only if you haven't received loans in the previous term. So as long as you attended classes, but you didn't receive loans, you could get your full loan amount, front loaded essentially for that next term. And another thing to note, when it comes to loans, the payments are not made to us, they're made to the loan servicer. So if you do decide to take out a loan, you just have to contact your servicer. There is a page about how to find your loan servicer on FAFSA's website. So that's studentaid.gov. Same website that you do your FAFSA on, and it'll be the same website that you do entrance loan counseling. In the master promissory, there's a section that just says, "Who's my servicer?" And so you'll want to access that. If you take out a loan, you'll have all that information as well. It'll just kind of direct you to where you need to go. But of course, if you have questions about that, you can reach out and then we can kind of show you how to get there. Um, and you'll set up all your repayment options through the FSA page. But of course, like I said, you'll be able to defer those payments until 6 months after you graduate. And then private loans are just going to depend on which provider you select. So that's all that I really have here. I would recommend taking a picture of this page. This is our kind of like outreach page and ways to contact us. We do one-on-one Zoom advising, which is actually happening right now. It's going from 1 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's it's sort of our way to do counselor meetings because we don't set up meetings per se. We just do the drop-in advising. So if you have kind of a specific question or something that's a little bit more niche that you don't think could get resolved over the phone or through email, then I highly recommend coming through Zoom. You should get your all your problems solved that way. And then, if you'd like to check out future FinAid Fridays, we do have the link for FinAid Fridays right there below that as well. And you can also come in person too. We're at the first floor of the Student Services building, open 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday. And then Friday, we actually open at 10, but regular business hours that way. And then otherwise, of course, our email is just finaid@sfsu, or you can give us a call with our phone number down there. So that is all that I have here. I'm going to put it back on the front page just in case anybody wants to scan that QR code. But yeah, I think we could probably get through some questions if anybody has anything. Let me check out chat. Kate, I don't know if you wanted to ask anything or if you had any questions or what you're thinking.
No, I didn't know the answer to